I'm excited to be live from the Handsewing in South Korea. This is a great time, so I happened to be here after doing some nomad work. I was sitting with me, I was decided to get some sewing done in this amazing space for sharing it with you. Unfortunately, over here than I anticipated. So we'll see how this works. If you're watching this, thank you for joining. We'll see if I do anything in a quiet location because weirdly it got louder in here after I came and set up shit. Yeah, so just over in the chat, please let me know if you can hear me, how the sound is. Obviously, I can't hear how it is for you. I'm using one of my earbuds, but I'm hoping that's maybe better on controlling the sound. You may notice I am not dressed in my 15th century finery today. That's just because of where I was before this. So it's okay. I'm still working on a 15th century smock. It is the linen undergarment that men and women in the 15th century wore themselves to. And it is getting very close to being done. This was supposed to originally be done in time for Handsewing, that 2-week medievalist fair that I attended. And of course, it did not absolutely get done because my time got sucked in with lots of other things. And in fact, it's just taken me so long just to finish all of these seams. Let me show you. What I'm talking about. So I finished. It's entirely hand sewn. So I finished all of the seams like this. So they're turned and then they're line stitched so that it becomes visible on the inside and on the outside. And the reason that I definitely want to make sure that all of my seams are perfectly finished like that is so that there's no friable edges exposed to, this is the tease of the washing machine because I do not have access to a professional laundress, which means I am my own laundress, which means I need to use my washing machine to wash this. And the washing machine is going to be very intuitive relative to what I do. So I want to make sure all of the seams are completely entombed in fabric so that they will not wear away and fray away. And there's just a lot of long seams on this seam. So, Pietro, twisty, schön, dass du da bist. Takeda, do you ever sleep, Takeda? Just out of curiosity. Just let me know how the sound is. I'm confident there is probably a lot of background noise. I'm kind of hoping that my new Rode Lavalier is efficient enough to cancel out the unwanted background noise. But I don't know. This is its first test run, so we'll see. Yeah. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I was also hoping that by doing Takeda, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning. So are you awake early or up late? Therein lies the question, eh? Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, so I was hoping that I could get to some of you who only ever get to watch the recordings of my live streams. Because I'm usually streaming evening Americas or middle of the night Europe, and it's now evening Asia, Korea specifically. So I'm hoping that maybe some of my European friends, my European community members can actually join in and participate in what will not be a 3-hour live stream probably, but it will be something anyway. Oh, is it loud? I'm sorry. Yeah, let me see if I can turn the gain down. Yeah, I'll try to turn the gain down. Hold on. Okay, this might get louder for a moment. I apologize. Okay, did that improve the gain or ruin the gain? Yeah, just let me, or did that improve the noise or make the sound pollution worse? Just let me know. Yeah, just let me know if that improved the gain or just hurt it. Yeah, I was worried this was going to happen. That I was not able to set up the user access on YouTube is stupid. It only lets you regulate the audience of your live streams on its desktop, on the desktop. You can't do it from the mobile app. So unfortunately, this was impromptu. So there will be some miscreants of a most dastardly nature who I will just have to block in the chat. I'm sorry about that, everyone. Yeah. But do let me know if turning the gain down, how the sound is now. I turned the gain down, so hopefully it's picking up less of should be picking up much less of the sound, the ambient sound. Yeah. I've turned the gain way down. So yeah, just let me know. Some people are assholes and deserve to be strung out on a tree and whipped until they cry for mercy. Oh, well, good old days, eh? So yeah, I'm actually just working on putting the M into my 15th century smoke. Smoke is a word that was used in medieval English, for an undergarment that goes against your skin. White women, what modernly a lot of people call a chemise in historic costuming circles, but was not called that in English before the 19th century, as far as I can tell. Yeah, so smock is the 15th century English word. That applies to men's and women's garments, but increasingly as the 15th century goes on, the word shirt actually appears and is increasingly used for the men's version of the linen undergarment. Interesting. Whereas the women's linen undergarment still continues to be called smock. Let me see. Okay, well, I didn't think about today's current events possibly interfering with the live chat. I apologize to everyone. You all know that I try to keep this as apolitical as I possibly can. It's kind of hard for me because I do have very passionate views about certain key fundamental human rights and whatnot, but we're focusing on medieval stuff today, so So Takeda, if you're there, just let me know if the volume is better after I turn down the gain. There might also be a slight lag between you letting me know and me actually being able to see the chat. I am sewing with this amazingly sharp needle, and just before I went live, I shoved it into my thumb accidentally all the way to the bone. It feels a little special. For those of you who weren't in my live stream this morning with Philip from Irish Medieval History and Clans and Dynasties, we had a lovely chat and watched the recording on my YouTube channel and on Facebook. My Facebook page, Creative Producer Facebook page, where we talked about the concept of a clan in medieval Ireland. And at the very end, we had some real fun. I learned about a supposed aspect of ancient Irish culture, Bronze Age Irish culture, that was quite alarming. So apparently, according to St. Patrick, pre-Christian Ireland would show your submission to another man by licking to a higher ranking man by licking his nipples. And some people have taken this report by St. Patrick at face value, and the reality, but others, for example, Michael from Clans and Dynasties is more towards the idea that St. Patrick was either making it up to make Christians look somehow superior and less barbaric than pagan Irish, or that, in fact, St. Patrick did have to participate in such a ritual, but it was basically the Irish were using him. a 4th century AD Irish hazing ritual, because there's apparently no other reference to nipple licking. One of the reasons that some people apparently give credence to the nipple licking in submission theory is that many bog bodies from that era have been found with their nipples cut off. Yeah, so that is a very disturbing thought. But it was a pretty funny discussion, and if you want to see Philip, Mihal, and I just cracking up on each other and having a good old time with this concept of fourth century Irish lifting, then please do check out the recording of this morning's clans, medieval Irish clans and fashion. The relevant sections are at the very end of the live stream. It was basically the last thing we discussed before signing off. Yeah, it improved a little. It's still quite a lot of background noise. I have to tell you, these people are loud. Unfortunately, like the quiet parts, that's as quiet as I can make it. The quiet spot, which is, I'll show you where I was. I was right there, but it's this glass somehow blocks the Wi-Fi signal entirely. It's remarkable. Like, I was right there, 6 inches away, but somehow the glass completely fouls up the Wi-Fi signal, so I couldn't get any reception back here whatsoever. Maybe putting this closer to me might help, I guess. Should actually. I wonder what it's. I'm just going to hope that it's actually my microphone that's transmitting the sound and not just my stupid internal microphone. Unfortunately, with this particular broadcasting software, I can't actually see that. Yeah. Oh well, yeah. So that was a funny bit of that was a learning for me this morning. I'd never heard of medieval or ancient Irish Iron Age, not Bronze Age, but Iron Age Irish nipple licking and other weird things that I've learned since starting my collaboration with Philip. So is anyone else working on any projects at the moment? I've actually also made some more progress on my Not a Hennin. Some of you will be interested to hear. I'm working on the vellum frame part of it, the new one. My turret, as it was called in 15th century English. And I've also started tweaking the pattern for reworking the pattern for my 15th century Burgundian gowns. If you look at my medieval sewing mistakes video, you'll discover there that I made some pretty severe errors when I was fitting it. And so it needs to be refitted over top of it. And I've actually finally started doing that. I found the energy to rework that pattern. Many of you know that I don't use commercial patterns. So that means I have to make my own, which means if there are mistakes, I just have to tweak them and fix it. I actually want to completely reconsider the way in which I've constructed my so-called Burgundian gowns, because right now I've designed them with what's in the turn-back collar, but I'm increasingly leaning towards the option of a collar being attached separately, so I'll have to tweak the pattern a little bit for that. I also want to play with the arm size on the gown, because the couple of gowns that we do have that are extant from this era, or the gown pieces, because we don't have many, they actually have really deep arm size at the back. And so I actually want to see about doing that, the grande assiette. So I want to see about working that into the Burgundian gown pattern and see how that improves and or affects the mobility and how it fits the arm and the shoulder joint. I also want to do one that is completely off the shoulders, that has this lovely, the off the shoulder framing that you see on Mary of Burgundy. It won't quite work exactly the same way on me, because most 15th century women had sloped shoulders, but I have the very muscular fit shoulders of a woman who does not fit. So I won't quite be able to get the exact same one. It's crazy. I don't understand it. Like, no one else came in here, but let me see the person that picked them There we go. Okay. Okay, got it. Oh my goodness. Yeah, well, Takeda, I can recommend that you go back if you have time and or something you need to have on while you're working on the project or something. It is definitely worth watching the rest of the Irish Climb live stream. It only went for 3.5 hours, which I guess for Philip and me is unusual. Yeah. So I've got that. Let's see what other projects do I have. I am still working on the new farsetto for my condottiero, my new 15th century Italian doublet, knight's doublet. And I've actually, so many of you know that I have for the last many years, I have hand sewn every single thing I have. Unfortunately, actually keeping up with life and cooking and doing my content work and editing videos, etc., I haven't had time to keep up with the replacement rate which my medieval clothing needs. And so I have finally borrowed a sewing machine, and that's going to accelerate my production time on my historical garments. So my plan is to machine sew the long interior seams, and of course anything that's visible on top will be hand finished. But even just doing the long seams will accelerate the completion of these garments by a significant degree. So that's going to, machine sewn seams are about to become a feature of the next several ensembles that I make, just art garments that I make, because otherwise I'm not going to keep up with the rate at which I'm literally wearing these garments out. Yeah, okay, I'm going to ask, so no more discussion about today's events from the United States. This is not the place for it, everyone. I will start blocking people if you keep talking about that, because that's not what this is about. Nope. For one, I don't want to get banned by YouTube for discussing political violence or even having it in my live chat. But two, that's just not what this is about. This is a chance to discuss medieval things, to get creative together. You can ask me questions about medieval living history. You can ask me questions about medieval fashion, medieval cooking, medieval dance, music, medieval games, daily medieval life, hygiene, lots of things you can ask me about or we can discuss, but I'm going to kindly ask that we refrain from the discussion of certain events out of the United States. Oh, Lucine, thank you, that's very kind of you. Yeah, and I will not be commenting on anything. Oh, Takeda, that's wonderful. I'm really glad that the family's enjoying the streams. It's sometimes it's hard for me to really ascertain what is interesting to other people when I'm just, sharing. I am going to be doing cooking. I was going to originally do it in the morning, but I think I'm going to do the live stream cooking in the evening my time, which will be early morning America's, just because I don't think I'm going to be able to make it to the grocery store in time tonight to get the things I need, because I'm going to be making zabagliones. So for those of you who are interested in medieval cuisine, I'm going to be doing a medieval cooking in a modern kitchen live stream tomorrow, about the same time as this actually, and we're going to be making 15th century zabaglione, which is the same, the pastry cream zabaglione that is made today in Italy, but this is the 15th century precursor, and it's an egg custard, not a dairy custard. And then we'll also be making larded milk. So that was that recipe we read through at Medieval Storytime Sunday evening for those of you in the Americas, Monday morning for those of you in Asia. So we'll be working through that and we'll be experimenting together. So we'll be trying some things out together. So you actually get to go through the reconstruction process with me on the redaction process with me on the medieval 15th century larded milk recipe. If you're interested in seeing how exactly experimentation works with medieval recipes, then tune in for that. That will, however, be in a modern kitchen. I do have a 15th century kitchen rig set up. I've got all the equipment, but not here. And also, I am currently living in the heart of a city of 4 million people in Korea, and they get real upset if you just start setting fires and cooking on them. So yeah, we're doing it inside my kitchen, which will be more practical for any of you who might like to follow along. Yeah, it's quite a time saver to initiate so the seams that are not visible. Yeah, I mean, especially on my gowns, which have long trains. And I'm not short. I'm not super tall, but I'm not short either. So I'm like 170 centimeters or 165 centimeters. I think I'm about 165 centimeters, 77 centimeters actually. Yeah, I'm 170 centimeters and 5'6", and so that means that dresses that reach to the ground and or go longer than the ground have a lot of seams. A lot of seams indeed. Yep. Yeah, for certain. So machine sewing them will just be an absolute time saver. I'm just doing a blind stitch on the bottom of this hem. Want to see? I think I have blind stitch tutorials. Blind stitch tutorial. If you want to see how that works up close in my project vlog on my YouTube channel for my 15th century Italian gown, my Florentine gown. It's a 2-hour long vlog. It shows the entire process from beginning to end. Yeah, it actually shows several stitching and sewing tutorials as part of that project vlog. So you can actually learn quite a lot of practical information. So if you wanted to see how to do a blind stitch, check out that video. My 15th century double video. So it's under the full-length video. It's not a live stream, just a properly published video. Good night, Steve. Have a nice evening wherever you are. Yeah. I also wanted to do this live stream to test the algorithm because weirdly, YouTube has been presenting the collaborations I've been doing with Philip. My Medieval Buzz live stream last week got really great viewership, 21,000 views or something like that. But then when we did it this week, it got very low, 2,000. And then the stream I did this morning with him and Miha and Dr. O'Neill only got like 1,400. So I was worried that YouTube had abandoned me, but I can already tell by the views on this one that I think it's probably the split screens that the algorithm doesn't like the way that looks and so won't push it to the audience as much. I think it's probably what it is. I really do think that the algorithm that there's some, or not the algorithm necessarily, but there's software that recognizes whether it's pretty looking or not. And I don't mean me, I mean the whole setting, whether it's a nice background, whether the video is, visually viewable on a small screen, kind of thing. I expect. So, yeah, for whatever reason. So I'm glad we did it for our people like you, Takeda, who actually enjoy the information, but it definitely was not an algorithm pleaser, shall we say. But I can tell that the algorithm is perfectly happy with this viewership here. If you're enjoying this loud and raucous medieval sewing party, don't forget to like and subscribe. My sewing parties are not usually this loud. In fact, they're usually not loud at all. But basically, when I started streaming, everyone suddenly got loud. Like literally, I walked in here and everyone was on their phones, and now suddenly, there they are. They're all talking. It's like they all looked up at the same time. Okay, there we go. So I'm just going to say it again. This is not the venue to talk about today's events in the United States. Not this live stream. Sorry, everyone. It's not what I want to read about, and it's not what I want to talk about for many reasons, but also because that's not what my channel is about. We're about medieval living history, about recreating and exploring the beautiful aspects of the past, not the hideous aspects of the present. Yeah, it's a hard job. Content creation is absolutely a hard job. People don't appreciate it, actually. I think people who don't do content creation don't appreciate how challenging and labor-intensive it is, especially to produce quality content. every polished 15-minute video I produce that's an actual video essay with editing and visuals and B-roll and a script, the research alone usually takes 50 hours because I'm a stickler about primary source research and only getting the right information out there. But then when you talk about writing it up into a script, filming it, editing it, it's 100 hours to make a 15-minute video, a quality 15-minute video on my channel. I can't speak for other creators, but any of my travel channel, the same deal. A travel vlog of 20 minutes, that represents probably 100 hours worth of work easily. So, I don't think I didn't appreciate how much work it was before I actually got into it. And I'm confident most people don't appreciate how much work it takes. These live streams are much lower impact for that because I can just, I can share my latest research and learnings with you in this much more relaxed, less formal format that requires no editing, which I actually get sewing. Which is why you may all have noticed I have definitely switched many more to a live stream format. I've got a couple of polished videos on the docket that I'll put out and get those out there, but after that I'm probably not going to do much in the way of finished videos. First off, YouTube is saturated with finished videos on medievalist content, at least it thinks it is, and so my videos get hardly any push whatsoever. So it's just not worth the time and effort I put into them, unfortunately. It's just where the market is, whereas my live streams are very popular. So, where am I sewing? I am currently in the Daejeon, South Korea, Hanok Starbucks. So this amazing space, everyone, this is a Starbucks. Can you imagine? Right? Yeah, this is a Starbucks. And it is a reconstructed historic building in downtown Daejeon. And I love this Starbucks because they've got some really localized drinks and treats. In fact, if you go to my Travels with the Contessa channel, I just put out a post where you can see the very localized, very Korean specialty drinks they have, including a hotok, which is hotok are these pancakes, these fried griddle cakes, pancakes basically, yeast raised, that are filled with this amazing cinnamon sugar filling. And they take those hotok and they turn it into a drink. It's like literally a creamy coffee thing with chunks of hotok in it and covered on top with cinnamon sugar sprinkles. And then they've got some dolmi drink. Dolmi are chili rice cakes that are like similar to mochi, not sweet themselves, but usually rolled in something sweet like soybean powder. And they have a similar indolmi drink where it's got little chunks of indolmi in it. It's like, oh my god, talk about daily caloric requirements. So yeah, I love this Starbucks because it's beautiful. We've got floor seating, as you can see. I'm sitting on the floor, not in a chair. Like this whole area is floor seating, right? So yeah, Korean Starbucks for the win. And the Starbucks here has the best tea that I've had at any coffee shop or tea shop in Korea. Well, not tea shop, coffee shop in Korea. They actually have organic green tea from Jeju. So it's not imported from China, it's not imported from Japan, it's actually a local tea. You can't get that at any of the little, it's funny because you can't get that tea or that quality of tea from the local small, individually owned coffee shops here in Korea. You have to come to Starbucks if you want that quality of tea. And it's whole leaf in diamond bags, it's really good quality. Yeah, so this one is definitely more lively than it was when I literally walked in. When I first walked in, like 35 minutes ago, it was quiet. Everyone was on their phones. And then I start live streaming and suddenly everyone springs to life. It's like, no, I'm in Korea at the moment. Yeah, this is a good microphone. It's an expensive microphone. It's a Rode, but unfortunately it doesn't, apparently it doesn't, this one didn't have sound canceling. Yeah, it's kind of crazy how much sound is coming through. I even turned the gain all the way down. But I'm really wondering now if it's actually using the right microphone. Let me see something. I'm wondering if it's trying to use the camera microphone.
Okay, so here's a question. Did that change anything? I just forced it to change to something that isn't technically there, but there it is. Yeah, let me know if that changed the kind of sound that's coming through. No, that's not what I want. Settings. Yeah. Crazy thing is noise suppression is actually on. So let me see. Auto control. Yeah, it's definitely coming through my microphone. I just did a tap test, which I know that sounds silly, but it is what it is. No, South Korea, definitely not North Korea. Let me see. Oh, Takeda, I would love it if you could actually make me fine medieval needles. So here's the problem. All of the replica medieval needles I have actually encountered are too big. The needle's eye is not right for actually fine fabric, and it's not even right for fine medieval fabric. They actually had very, very fine needles in the Middle Ages also, especially by the 15th century. I mean, really fine. Of course, those almost never survive because they literally disintegrate. They're too fine to survive in the archaeological record. So the people who make replicas, they generally are always making these big, huge ones that have these massive eyes and make big holes in the fabric. So especially if you're working with a nice, tightly woven silk damask, I can't use those needles. So if you could make me, if you could make me some fine needles with not huge, massive needle heads, I think the punch needle heads instead of the hammered flat ones and punched ones would be great. That would be fantastic. I would just love that. Oh, really? Much better by my hands? Did that fix it? Okay. Okay. So apparently, oh God, guys, I'm so sorry. Apparently we were coming in through my camera's microphone instead of the actual microphone. Okay. Yeah. So just remind me next time that I have to set it to headset earpiece. Would have thought. Jesus Christ. Okay. Oh, I do have a bunch of Japanese needles. And yeah, they're tiny. They're like, they're wonderful. I love those things. I've got Japanese embroidery needles. They are amazing. So, I mean, I can get them, but I mean, I would also like some replica ones that are actually made in the medieval model. Yeah. Because even the handmade ones in Japan are made using like machine drawn wire, I think. Yeah. Yeah, the slit hole. I think probably what we need is the slit hole for the fine fabrics, Takeda. Yeah. Yeah. No, I do actually have some of the handmade needles from Japan, the really fine embroidery ones. In fact, they're of course the needles I lose the most. So okay, guys, I'm sorry. Well, we'll know for next time, right? Headset earpiece is the actual microphone. Okay, well, and with that, everyone, now that we finally have decent sound, crack. I'm so sorry, everyone. My phone's about to die. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. But I will be doing medieval cooking tomorrow at about this same time. Medieval cooking in a modern kitchen. We'll be doing one recipe that I already know how to make, and another a 15th century recipe for egg custard wine cream, zabaglione. And then we'll be working together through an experiment with the second recipe, larded milk. And that isn't as horrifying as it sounds. It's not horrifying at all. I think it's going to be delicious. So yeah, if we, yeah, right, using a handmade's tough, right? Of course, it's the most expensive needles that I lose. Actually, my first set of replica medieval needles got confiscated in Abu Dhabi at the security control when I transferred flights from the flight from Korea to the flight continuing onward to Europe. And they looked at my medieval needles and they told me they were contraband and they confiscated them. Meanwhile, they let me keep a whole box of pins. Yeah, that was pretty heartbreaking. I was hoping that at least someone kept them and gave them to their mother or father to sew, because in the Middle East there are a lot of tailors who are men, right, who do hand sewing on the finishing work. So I just want you all to know if if we suddenly drop out because I'm down to 2%, it's because my phone's about to die. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. I'm sorry it took us so long to work out the freaking sound quality. We'll know next time. Please like and subscribe. Thank you to my patrons and my channel members for your support and my super chatters. We will pick this up later. More medieval sewing party, medieval cooking, medieval story time all across the weekend starting tomorrow. Yeah, I really appreciate you being here for me. Uh, oh, lovely pancake. Are you a surgeon? Are you a combat medic by any chance? Yeah. Goodness gracious. Yeah. I'm so sorry about the sound issue. I wish we could have figured it out before that. I should have thought that something was wrong because this is a very expensive microphone. So it should have been good quality. I just needed to force it to do the right thing. Yeah, there are handmade needles and there are people making them. There are even people making replica medieval handmade needles. So yeah, it is a thing. You can buy them. And if you're lucky, they won't get confiscated by airport security. I am at a Hanok Starbucks in Daegu, South Korea. Yep. And also everyone just left. So it also got quieter for that reason. Gosh darn it. I'm sorry, everyone.